Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Europa Universalis IV as we are playing with the Emperor expansion as Milan. So before we get started in today's episode, I'd like to mention one thing. So I've had a lot of questions regarding that research paper, that thesis paper that I did back in college regarding the European state system and balance of power politics. So I had a lot of people ask about that. I still have people asking about it, you know, people who are a little bit late to the series and are just now watching that video where I discussed it. I've had a lot of people bring it up though, you know, asking whether or not I can, like, you know, maybe perhaps read some of it on a EU4 video or something like that. Just people who are curious about it, as well as some people who didn't quite understand what it was about. They thought it was about Italy or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what they were thinking it was about. Another person thought it was that balance of power politics was in regards to something domestic, like the balance of power between, you know, the monarch and the nobles or something like that, which of course that's not what it is. It is an international relations system. So what I'm going to do here at the end of this video, since obviously this doesn't really have anything to do with the series, at the end of this video, I'm going to read a little bit of that paper. So maybe just a few paragraphs or something like that. Or a couple pages of it. It's a pretty long paper, so we won't go through the whole thing. I'll maybe spend like 15 minutes or something like that. I don't know exactly how long it would take, but yeah, maybe 10-15 minutes reading part of that paper at the end of this episode. And I will put a timestamp, if I remember to. Hopefully I'll remember to put a timestamp to that section because I might post something about it on the channel for other people who might be interested and aren't currently watching the series. So I'll try and remember to put a timestamp on there as well. So again, that'll be at the end of this video. And let's go ahead and get started in today's episode. First thing I'm noticing here is that England is absolutely racked with noble rebellions. It looks like the nobles have, they have rebelled and taken over all of the country pretty much. You see that the English army is currently evacuated to Ireland, and that's where they're residing right now, probably building back up in preparation to try and get their country back, but they've essentially lost this. There's no way around that. I am impressed with how far England has done in the conquest of Ireland so far. They've done okay, for the AI anyway. Just a couple provinces left to get, and these guys might actually be, they're currently allied with England, so that's the reason. That's the only reason why they are still around. Alright, so in today's episode, we're going to continue the war against Venice and Rome, and similarly to what we did in the last war, we'll likely be extending this a bit, not just to burn off aggressive expansion, but more than anything because I'm trying to get some missions done, because we might try and get Rome annexed and turned to Italy, which would change our missions. Now, given we would have to take Rome, we would then have to core it, so that would take time. But there are several missions here that I'd really like to get done that are part of the, the Milanese missions that we will lose once we become Italy. And the primary ones I want to do is the ones down this branch because they're really good and we can do them. So this one, of course, is the 150 development that we were working towards. We're currently at 129, so we need 21 more development in that little area right here, Lombardy. And then that's going to give us the Silk and Como event, which will, from my understanding, I think will give us the silk, change cloth to silk, which is more profitable. So that would be very good to have. I'd like to have that one. And you don't really get very many occasions to change up a trade good in a province. So I'd like to do that one. And then this one here is going to be pretty easy to do too. We just have to build 3 more manufactories and then have 1,000 gold. 1,000 ducats. That would not make it that challenging to do. And if we did this, we get 1 development in all the provinces there, as long as they don't have any separatism, which I think none of them do in this region. So that would result, there's no provinces in there with separatism. So that would result in us getting 1 development in all those. So that'd be really nice. It doesn't say where we get the 1 development though. It could be in any of those, and you know, base tax, base manpower, or base production. And then after this one, we've already got this one completed. All the stuff ready for this. Milan is currently the biggest city in the world as far as development goes. Or actually, no province in Western Europe has higher development. So we already have succeeded with that. And then this gives us this bonus until the end of the game in our capital. Local tax modifier, trade value, and institution spread. So that's just fantastic bonus. So I really want to go down this branch. I highly doubt we'll be able to complete the other ones, guys. We've already done Conquer Tuscany, so I think we're right here on the Kingdom of Lombardy. I don't think... Yeah, we probably won't be completing that one. It's just too many areas we'd have to expand to in order to complete it. But that's okay. These are the main two that I want to do. Or main three, excuse me. So that's what we're going to be working towards getting done. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and actually increase development in this region, which, again, we're going to do it in, like, the cheapest places. I think that'd be the best way to do it. So, like, that one's pretty cheap there. And we will be using our admin power for this because that's what we have an excess of. So we'll just kind of bump up the development a bit. Again, there's a lot more we have to do here. I think that this is one in order to get it high enough. But yeah, it's fine. We will do one into here just because, again, I'm trying to make sure that Milan stays the largest city in the world. Maybe do one more somewhere else. I'm just kind of looking to kind of balancing this out and also trying to consider the prices here. So we'll do this one. And then this one's pretty cheap too. All right, so just taking a look at where we're at now. I don't know why I keep clicking on that. As far as getting that done, we're at 136, so we need 14 more development. And we could just waste all of our power to do that, but we'll wait a little bit. I don't know if we're currently working on getting the tech. You know, I don't actually know. Maybe we'll take a look at that, because maybe we could just invest all of our points in that. Yeah, we already are pretty far ahead in admin tech. We're not getting any ideas here, so... Yeah, I suppose we can just keep on investing until we complete it. Well, we need, what was it, 14 more? It'd be quite a bit more. But yeah, we can keep using our power until we don't have any more. Again, just trying to do the cheapest ones. And I don't know if this is one. Yeah, it looks like it is one. I think that's the edge here that we can do. So it's 47. We got a 46 there and a 45. I know we're saving like barely any power here. I mean, it's 1 or 2 power that we're saving. But yeah, I think in the long run, it'll be worth it. Let's see, we got 47 right there. So we'll go up a bit. And I think that is it. We'll do one more here. All right, so let's take a look and see how we're looking on completing that mission. I think we're still a bit of ways off. We only have 113 more. We need 5 more development, so we wouldn't be able to get it. We might as well just wait. We'll just wait, guys. So again, I think we were supposed to be splitting this army, weren't we? Yeah, we did split it, and then I didn't pull them off. Oh yes, that's right, because we don't control the zone here. That's right, I remember. So we're just going to merge them all because they're not going to be leaving. Also, our treasurer just died, which is a real shame because I think he was a cheaper one. I could be wrong about that. Do we have any other cheaper ones? I don't actually know, but it does look like that is not the case. We do not have any cheaper guys, unfortunately. So we'll just go with the +3 here, and you know, we have the money for this, so it's not really that big of an issue. Speaking of money, we need to go ahead and build a manufactory if we want to complete that one objective, which requires 5 manufactories, which we currently only have 1, and these do take time to build as well. As you can see, 60 months, that is no small amount of time. So let's see where we want to build this. Oh yes, again, we're not going for money here. We're going for the actual trade goods. That's right. So we're looking to build... I forgot that you could see the trade good here. That would have been a lot easier than what I was trying to do last episode. So yeah, we're going to want to build in wine locations. That's one of the things we were trying to build in. And then the other one was, you know, and I'm not entirely sure what the other one that we're thinking about. Oh yes, paper and glass. Now I remember. So we can't do it here. Let's see where else we can do it. So we can do it right there or right here. I guess we'll build right there and get the wine going. All right, excellent. So every time we get a little bit of money, we'll try and build that manufactory. So we did finish up the siege finally. So that's very good news. Probably, it looks like we can't actually leave here. All right, so there's a peace offer, which we are going to go ahead and decline that. It looks like we might be paying for our forts, which is unnecessary. We don't need to do that. So let's go ahead and say mothball all forts. Since there's nobody in the war right now with the exception of the knights, they can evade us, and if they do so, then we will quickly push them back into the sea. Not too worried about it. All right, so yeah, we don't need to be notified of this, because again, we're going to focus on manufactories. So we've got Prospering Times event here, so nice. Luca can get either base tax, base manpower, or base production, and of course we can get the associated power as well, which I kind of feel like we should go for the admin power since that's what we're currently using the most of right now. So I think that's what well, you know what, it doesn't really matter what we get, actually, yeah, because we can spend any of it on here. It doesn't have to be base tax. I don't know what I'm thinking. Let's just take a look and see what Lucca really needs. They already have very good production here, so instead we should go for base tax or, yeah, you know what, that's what we're going to go for. We're going to go for the base tax. All right, excellent. Would have been nice if we got that event here, because then that would have been even a better advantage since we wouldn't have to invest. There'd be one less development we'd have to get here. Remember, we still got to get to 5. We can't go ahead and spend military power, I suppose, to increase. Yeah, we'll actually do here. I want to get Lombardy, excuse me, I want to get Milan up to 50 development total. That's where I'd like to see us at. And got peace offers, which we are going to promptly decline. All right, so I think we need 4 more development, and we can spend that. Let's just see how we want to do this. We get a little bit there, and see where else we might want to go. We'll go here. Just spend a little bit of that military power, and then we have this damn trade crisis again. Let's try and alleviate the problem. Let's take a look and see where we're at on getting that done. We need 3 more development, so we're just going to invest. You know, now and try and get, and again I'm trying to get them up to 50, so we'll invest here, and we'll still have enough points to get this done, I think. So let's go with, just looking at the prices here. We'll go there and here. Now we need to invest a little bit of our admin power, I suppose. There we go. So now we have completed the mission. Remember, this is going to get us the Silk and Como event. And so let's take a look at it. One of our prominent landholders, a flourishing town, has managed to acquire silkworms and introduce them to its estates. Now he's requesting a loan to build a factory in Como where large quantities of finely woven silk can be produced and exported. So yes, we will do this. You can also just get a cheaper advisor, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do this. It's also gonna give us 2 base production, and it's gonna cost 100 diplomatic power, but that's okay. So now they have changed to silk here. Silk is worth more money, as you can see. It's worth more money than the cloth, and I don't know that we would ever be able to get any of the modifiers, you know, like the production or trade modifiers for trading in it, of course, because, you know, the silk comes from other places in the world that we're not in yet. And I don't even know if we'll ever go there since we're not doing much colonizing. But I can kind of see, this is kind of my long-term goals, you know, if we, you know, depending on how far we get. Obviously, we want to unify Italy, and that's the main goal of this campaign, is to try and get control of as much of Italy, if not all of it, as possible. And then after that, there's a lot of options we could do. Could go into the Balkans, could go into North Africa. Both of those would be kind of fitting for Italy, I think. So those are all options that we could do. So let's go and get that next manufacturing building. So we could just build it here in the Silk region. I suppose that would probably make a lot of money. But again, I feel like we're trying to get control of the trade of the wine. I think we're trying to become the top producer of wine, actually. So if we want to do that, then we would need to continue investing in the wine provinces. So I guess that's what we'll do for right now. Maybe the last one we get will be for silk. Yeah, I can see doing that. Yeah, we'll get the last one will be going into silk. So we're going to go ahead and continue declining them, just kind of keep this war going for as long as we can. Just so we don't, we're going to have some penalties when we, and you know, I could have swore that we could call them to arms. We can. Let's go ahead and bring Italy in. We're not going to, or excuse me, Italy. Let's go ahead and bring Austria in. It's going to cost us 10 favors. We will not promise them land. And this is, you know, not because they're going to help us, because they won't. There's nothing for them to help with. But the only reason why we're doing that, although I guess they could end up destroying the Venetian fleet here, which wouldn't be a good thing in my opinion. Again, I'm trying to keep their fleet around if we can. But main reason to pull them in is so that the Papal States will be angry with them. And they did end up attacking that fleet, which is unfortunate. The Venetians have nowhere to go either. I suppose they could go to the Knights place. It looks like most of their ships are still out there patrolling. So that's kind of been one negative. We're not earning that money that we could be. But again, I'm trying to keep this war going for as long as possible. And there's going to be some negatives that are going to come with us annexing Rome. There's major negatives there. So France has announced Milan as the rival, which I think we announced them as a rival. So yeah, it's fair, I suppose. We don't really need this guy here in Venice anymore. So we'll go ahead and remove him. Oops, this is of course covert actions. Stop building the spy network. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set up a diplomat to continue increasing relations with allies. So just going to decline both of those again. We do have a new pope, and Austria is in fact the controller. Okay, interesting, because they're at war with the pope. So there certainly are historical accounts of that. I mean, what is a papal controller really? Sometimes a papal controller is that position. You know, of course, it's not a real position, but had that. What, you know, the game means to represent with papal controller. They did that through military might by just, you know, having control of Rome, having their troops here. You know, you kind of can just control the Pope if your military controls Rome. A good example that would be like Charles V or whatever, you know, which of course impacted England, you know, because the Pope didn't want to grant Henry VIII his divorce simply because of the fact that you know, his wife was related to Charles, and there was a lot of things that kind of played a role, but then what did play a major role is that Charles V did control Rome at the time. He was sieging it, and so I'm sure that had an impact with him being related to Henry's wife. So what is this about? An agenda is about to expire. Oh, okay. Damn, I didn't think about that. I mean, it only gives a diplomatic reputation, and I suppose it'll just decrease. It is 20 years, though. It does decrease their loyalty for a while. So that's kind of a bummer, and yeah, the whole reason why we did this war was, of course, to do that. So, good, God, I didn't even think about that fact. Yeah, we might just have to do this now, guys. And then we can just wait to become Italy. It's just going to cause a lot of problems, though, because we're holding Rome. It does take time to core it, though, so I guess we can go ahead and make this happen. Let's go and sue for peace here against the Papal States, and we're going to take control of Rome. They would agree to that. Can we get them to also give up their cores? I could swear they had like a core somewhere. Yeah, revoke a core here. So we could go ahead and do that. And then we can also just like take any money they have. So let's go ahead and do that. And we are going to get a penalty from that. Also, this province is not Catholic, so we can help convert Rome to Catholicism and actually use a missionary for once. We have not used any missionaries. Well, this would be his monthly cost, so pretty expensive. Luckily, we do have a lot of money here. But yeah, it's going to be pretty expensive, and it's going to take 23 months, which is not too bad because we do have all those modifiers there. Let's go ahead and do that. Although we could core it for cheaper. You know what, let's go and core it first. Oh, we're actually lacking. Okay. Because I want to say you can't do two at the same time. Like, you can't core it. I could be wrong, though. Let's try and core it first. So we just need to get this up to 260 or something like that, 261. So go ahead and wait to core it. Again, we do have a lot of stuff to be done. And this is the modifier we get here with the occupation of Rome. So you'll see our yearly papal influence is absolutely garbage. In fact, we might be, we'll actually be losing papal influence. So we want to go and invest anything we currently have into the new pope, since this is going to tick down to 0 here. And then, of course, the diplomatic reputation impacts us a bit as well. Papal State. So this is, of course, the event that fires that has a lot of negatives to it for not giving it back to them. So the deep devotion of the Roman Catholics in Rome has awakened a desire for an independent state ruled by popes of the church, right? So we can approve this, and if we approve it, then, we get prestige, and the Papal States gets Rome back, and they get a core there. And this will also apply to our ruler and possible heirs. Okay, I don't know what applies to them, but we will never support such a state. That we're not going to give Rome back up. We're going to lose prestige, we're going to lose stability, and everybody's going to dislike us a bit. So that's one of the negatives here. And I don't know if it gets any worse than this, other than that modifier in this event here, but it might. Now, the Papal States can still exist by getting another province somewhere else. Now, I think they favor territory that is already, under, an archbishop. So that would likely be here in Germany somewhere. I don't know how long they wait before they pop up there, though. We'll just have to see. Overall, though, it is a negative. It is a negative, guys. Let's go and end the war with Venice now. Well, hopefully this doesn't cause too much aggressive expansion. Again, we're trying to vassalize them. And we'll have to see if this results in France joining the coalition, which is the only thing I'm worried about. And it seems that that is the case, definitely. So we might have to wait a little bit longer, just kind of burn off a little bit of aggressive expansion. And they're not even willing to accept it, probably because we just took the province. So that's a problem. So what we're going to want to do here then is just wait. How long can we wait before we're going to lose this? So this is going to expire in September 1548. So we've got less than a year, but we will use that to burn off as much aggressive expansion as possible. So we'll just see what we can get to. Currently with France, we have a negative 45. I don't know that we'll be able to burn off enough of it, guys. We do, of course, have our diplomats hard at work. What we could do is add another one to outraged countries. I don't know if he had to have anything to do. He does. Just try and increase our relations there. And Papal States, are they somewhere? Did they pop up anywhere? You'd think that would be an event that would fire for us and we'd see it. Yeah, they already have popped up. Okay, so it's not even a certain amount of time. They're right here. They've already gotten a province. Okay, so yeah, they've been given a province here, and I don't know if they have any other territory anywhere. It doesn't look like it. Looks like they just have that one province right there. So we'll have to see how that affects things. So an army career. Ooh, I almost clicked on that. I didn't want to click on that. I don't even know what it is. So we can say we must safeguard the ancient traditions of our officer corps, which would get us army tradition, and the nobles would be loyal to us, while the burghers would not. Or we can do this one, and we get army professionalism. Okay, so tradition, of course, affects the generals, how good your generals are, while the professionalism is this here. So which one do we really want to do? 2.5% isn't a lot. And we should be drilling right now for not, by the way. Yeah, let's go ahead and start drilling. We'll be doing that here in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and pick something here. As far as like who's going to be impacted the most by the loyalty decrease, it would be the burghers. They would drop below 30%, so we'd get a penalty for at least a little while. As far as the nobles, though, they would not. We'd not get a penalty with them. So the army tradition, where are we at right now? We're only at 25, and it's ticking down. So this, of course, affects the quality of our generals. You know what? Let's go ahead and safeguard our ancient traditions of our officer corps. Get that tradition. And I don't know if that was the best option or not, but that's what we went for. And the Venetians are still wanting peace. Remember, we're going to wait until, I think, no. It was September. So we're going to want to wait until August. Oh, yes. And I forgot, we do want to start coring this. Let's go ahead and start that now. We'll start the coring process, and then we'll convert them. Yeah, you cannot convert them while you're coring. That's what I was thinking. And I think it might have been a little bit quicker to core. Yeah, it's a bit quicker to core it. So might as well do the coring first, which will actually decrease the time that it takes to change the religion, to convert them. I never really liked the way that EU4 handles conversion. It's just so easy to convert provinces to other cultures and other religions. It's just so silly. It's just incredibly silly. Because it's just not the way it worked in real life. So I never really liked that aspect, just how easy it is to convert, and I don't even know what it means to be converting cultures, like, because culture isn't just religion. It's not like you're just saying you have to speak our religion now, or excuse me, you have to convert to our religion. It's not just languages. It's not just saying that you have to speak our languages. So there's a lot more to it than just, languages and religion. And of course, culture and religion are separated in this game, even though religion's kind of part of culture. So really, I mean, I don't understand what you're doing when you convert culture, like how you tell people this isn't something that you're doing over 50 years. This is something you're doing over a couple years. And so I really don't know what that means, what it means to convert culture. What are you telling them that to dress a certain way, speak a certain language? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of silly that you can even do that. I don't even think we've ever looked at it because I don't typically use it at all. It's somewhere in here, change culture. Yeah, so you can just use diplo power to just change their culture over to yours, as silly as that is. So we have hit our deadline here, so we are going to have to go ahead and annex them. We don't have any diplomats to send though, so that's a problem. Let's go ahead and get a diplomat back that we can do this thing. It'll be 3 days here. Let's go ahead and contact him and make peace. So we are going to annex them. They will agree to that. I don't know that we did enough to ensure that France doesn't join the coalition. No, it doesn't look like it. We did not do enough. However, there was another large country, I don't remember who it was, that was going to join that is not going to join now. Maybe, no, it's Bohemia, and they're still there. All right, so yeah, it's probably going to be a very large coalition, incredibly dangerous. Yeah, this will be very, very dangerous to us. But we're going to do it. We're going to go ahead and vassalize them. So they'll become a vassal. As far as other things that we can do with them, could force them to end the rivalry. We could force them to release Crete, but I don't see any reason to do that. Could have them revoke their core there, but yeah, I don't see any reason to do that either, since we don't actually own that. And then we can, yeah, we can force them to cede that province to us, but we'll get that when we annex them. No reason to do any of that. Let's just go ahead and vassalize them. And we won't even take their money since they're going to be a vassal, and so we don't want to weaken them. So let's go and send the demand off. And there we go. So we've completed that objective. And then that should also result in us completing the agenda. And they do have high liberty desire, very high liberty desire. That's surprising, just how high it is. Now, part of that is, of course, their very, very low opinion of us. So that should be increasing soon. And as far as like interactions we might be able to do to you know, help that out, I'm not sure if there's anything we can do that will. Well, you can do this one for prestige, but yeah, we're not gonna do that. We'll just take the high liberty desire. It's not like they're gonna declare war on us, right? So we have completed the estate agenda. That's going to give us the 1+ diplomatic reputation, which is important since we are getting that penalty because we hold Rome. We should also start training these troops. I forgot to do that. Let's go and start drilling now. And you know, we can go and throw these guys over here and drill them all. And then we can put our fleets back out if they aren't already going out and mothball the larger fleet here. So we don't have to pay for that with our galleys. And Austria's back to being the emperor, still elected as the emperor, so that's good. And you can see it's already ticking down. It's at 73% right now. And yes, the coalition is forming, so this is going to be quite worrisome, guys. I do expect this to be a problem. Are we embargoing everybody? I don't think we are. No, we are not embargoing everybody. We can't embargo them because we still have the treaty with them, I think. Maybe not. So let's go ahead and embargo them if we can. Yeah, let's go ahead and issue embargo on France. And then there should be one more country left to embargo that we're rivaling, which would be Denmark. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it with Denmark. And we will have to wait till we get a diplomat. There we go. All right, awesome. So we've done all that. We also have money to get that manufactory built, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll get the manufactory built in the Silk province. All right, fantastic. And Switzerland is joined. Again, it's going to be a fairly large coalition, but various joined. It's going to be a serious problem, guys. We can go ahead and do another diet. I don't see any reason not to. Get a little bit more loyalty with these guys. And let's see what's the best agenda we want to adopt. So we can increase the tax income in Parma. And this would, of course, just gain us some prestige. We can expand into Switzerland. Well, they actually want us to expand into Switzerland. Obviously not something that we're gonna be able to do right now, so yeah, I don't even know if we can do that in time. Or we can do increased trade power in Venice, which again, it does seem like they have very high requirements here, so it's kind of hard to do those. Let's just do the increased tax income in Parma, I suppose. It needs to be at least 11. How high would we have to do that? I think it's typically like you need to invest 2 into it, yeah. So we have to invest 2 into it just to get a bit of prestige. I hate kind of doing this here because it's really not a good option. How long do we have to do this? We have 20 years. And what do we have to do to get it? Just 1 province. Well, I could see doing that. Although if we attack them, I think they do bring the Austrians in. And we can actually attack them now. But again, we have such aggressive expansion. But yeah, I don't think we'd be doing it now. I guess we could do it we can go ahead and accept it. If we fail it, we fail it. That's whatever. All right, and that'll give us that conquest war goal over there as well. So let's go ahead and increase the speed And then we're going to continue getting these larger coalitions here. But again, not really anything that we can do about it. We do have more money. We could build another manufacturer. I don't think we need to build any more to complete that objective. But, you know, we could do it to get the modifiers. I guess we'll take a look again at the ledger here and just see. Oh, wait, no, we want to do the strategic. And just kind of see where we're at on these with the market share. So we're at 17% to be the production leader here. Man, we are not even close. And then, of course, with glass, we don't have that high enough either, and we're never going to be the production leader for that. The paper, we are the production leader for paper, that's right. And then we are also the production leader for cloth, even though we're only doing 7.6%. All right. So, yeah, as far as gaining, I don't see us gaining enough market share on anything right now that we can actually build manufactories in. Unfortunately, yeah. There's not really anything that would help us here in that regard. So we won't build any more of those. Again, they do take a long time to kind of be worth it. Now, because we increased the base tax to several provinces, you can see that these churches are going to be worth a lot more money now. So let's go ahead and build some of these up. Because you build some churches in some of these areas since we can get a good amount of money from them. I mean, you know, it's not a good amount of money, but I mean, it's about the threshold. Like 0.20 is kind of like where I'd like to be at. Bohemia just joined the coalition, so that's not good. Yeah, a lot of countries are joining this coalition. This is incredibly dangerous to us. If one of them, what happens with those coalitions is if one of the coalition countries declares war on you, or you declare war on them, and France just joined, which is, that's the worst, then they all join into the war against you. So you can see how you can find yourselves in a very bad situation. Yeah, you know, look at this. If these guys are in that coalition, which I don't know if they are, yeah, this brings the entire coalition into the conflict. Oh, Lord. So that would bring all of those countries in. Yeah, we could end up facing a very tough coalition. We should probably build up. We should build our army up right now, guys. Try and get up to the cap here. We've already hit our naval cap. Let's go ahead and start building a whole new army, I think. We're going to want to build another army. Now, I never did start training these guys. My bad, guys. I meant to get them drilling. Get that drill belt back up. Try and get it up a little bit higher. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get each of these armies here up to 22,000. We're going to give them another artillery. Again, if we have the one artillery, then we would get that other modifier in many of these forts. So we don't want to get up to like four artillery here. You know what? I feel like artillery is soon going to get good enough where it'll be worth it to have more in the army. So let's do 2 artillery in each of these. It's not like we don't have the money for it, guys. So let's go ahead and build 2 artillery for these guys here and 2 artillery for this army here. And then we will go ahead and build up another army of like 22 units. So we'll have like 3 22 unit armies. Because I think that's probably good as far as like the attrition in many areas, that 22 should fit in many of the provinces that we'd be invaded into. Yeah, 22 seems to fit in most places. So yeah, let's go ahead and get the next army building. So we're going to want to get infantry, obviously, and build all throughout here. And how many infantry is that currently? Let's see, we're building 12 infantry right now. So let's go ahead and just leave it at that, and then go ahead and build some cav units here. So we're going to do like 4 cav units. And then some artillery. So we'd want to do about 5 artillery if we're trying to get up to the same size. And I don't even know how many I just built there. That's good for now. We'll build more later. So we did use a lot of money, a lot of our manpower, and we did get that core done, which means we can now go ahead and convert the province. Let's go ahead and do so. As far as decisions, we can now form the Italian nation. So we have that ability to do this. This will change us to Italy. We'll get a permanent claim on the Italian region. We'll get 25 prestige, which we're already maxed out, so that doesn't help us at all. And then we get the new traditions and ambitions. Now, I did take a look at their national ideas here, and compare the Italian and Milanese one. And one thing I really don't like about the Italian one is that we will lose a key bonus here. We'll lose the technology cost, which is really nice to have. And then we also lose, I think we might lose the development cost. I could be wrong on that one though. We do lose the idea cost. So essentially all the things that are saving us power, which are the best things for me, those are the things I like the most, we lose all those. So that's unfortunate. However, they have some great bonuses though. We get a 15% infantry compatibility, so it's 5% higher. We get rid of some of these ones I'm not really using, like the mercenary maintenance. We won't have that. Global trade power, I think, is at 20% instead of 10%. There's a couple other really good ones too that we'll see when we get this. We do keep prestige, I believe. But yeah, there's actually some really good ones. The manpower bonus is higher. I want to say we get a manpower bonus somewhere here. Oh, it's the finisher. It's 20% national manpower. I want to say it's a 33% national manpower, so that's larger. So overall, it's probably a better ideal group, the Italian one. But we do lose some bonuses here. Also, the combat ability for infantry goes up from 10 to 15%. Whoa. Shit. We got a war, guys. So we do have the coalition war. The Hungarians refused to join, as did the Spanish. And of course, because this happened so quick, we did get involved in these conflicts. They caught our ships out there. So that's a problem. We're going to find ourselves in a massive war now, guys. I did expect this to happen, so it's not entirely surprising. But what does suck is that they attacked me while I had it on speed 5. And I haven't even messed with any of these troops yet. So that's also quite unfortunate. I should have really have done this. And we had all these guys drilling, so that's a problem as well. And all of our forts were not, we weren't paying for our forts. So I wasn't expecting it to happen this quick. And it did. So that's a problem. But we will get some support from our ally here. Let me just see who all has joined it. So we have Austria. We have Burgundy. We have, now Burgundy, of course, is tiny. We have Savoy, and of course we have Venice. Against all of these countries here. You can see that we're vastly outnumbered, guys. We are in a terrible situation with troop numbers, so we got to fight all these armies. Hopefully we can find all these armies alone. But yeah, this is a very, very bad time for them to declare war on me, and I had it on speed 5, so now we're gonna get these losses now that are unnecessary to have. So that's a real shame. Yeah, that's a real bummer. All right, so we'll get all of our armies going into here. We did lose some ships, some trade ships that were out there. We'll have to rebuild those. And we did lose the Battle of Roma. And because... Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. We won the Battle of Roma. All right, I'm a little bit surprised by that. I'm not entirely sure how we won that. I think they invaded before they had ticked their manpower, or excuse me, their morale up as well. So that's actually a good thing. Very good. All right, let's go and get these troops all moving into here. And I'm not entirely sure where these guys are going. Oh, they're going back to their own territory. All right. So yeah, again, we're going to have a nice massive conflict here, guys. And it should be pretty fun. Because we lost those ships, we can go ahead and build more war galleys here. That also reminds me that we're going to want to... I guess we'll get the war galleys built first. Let's go ahead and build the war galleys. We'll build one right here, I suppose. He should be able to make it over there without getting attacked, hopefully. Let's go ahead and unmothball those. That would be wise. So hopefully all our trade ships are back in port. As far as money goes, we're still earning very good amount of money right now. So it's not a problem. Still kind of getting those cannons built for our army, so we won't go on the offensive just yet. We will wait. We'll actually let them attack us, because in most places, we will like invade into Naples though and kind of get that dealt with. Again though, let's wait for all of our troops here. We do have that artillery done, the cannon, so we'll go ahead and get that going. We'll have to see what everybody does here, but this is just an absolutely massive conflict, guys. However, I don't think France joined because we had... Nope, France did join too. Yep, everybody joined. All right, so yeah, massive conflict, guys. All right, so we didn't mess with our forts either. I did intentionally wait on that because I wanted to see what we were going to do at Roma, if we were going to keep that or not, because I didn't know if another event was going to fire regarding it. Let's go ahead and bring the artillery over to here. We got all these guys merged. We do need a leader for them, so let's go ahead and recruit a general. We could give our ruler military command, but we won't. Let's just do a new leader here and see how he looks. So he is actually pretty decent. Yeah, not bad at all. Let's go ahead and appoint him. All the armies are pretty much going to be equal, so because we are still building troops here. So we're going to get these all up to 22,000 before we do any more attacks. Now I think we still need to build troops for this army here, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we have them all built yet. We do have more troops that are still building, and our coast has been raided because we don't have our ships out there anymore, so that's unfortunate. Still waiting on this guy. Oh, I turned this down to speed too. I was wondering why that was going so damn slow. So let's go and merge those. And then we also have the armies up here, which I want to say that these guys need to go here, while the rest are going up here. So that'll get them up to 20,000. I don't know if we have any more troops that we're waiting on. We might, though. Oh, this is our shitty army. So we do have a difference in army, so we shouldn't have this guy here. He is our crappier one. Or this is our crappier army, I should say. Let's go ahead and move him here. Because they don't have any army drills, so yeah, that's the reason why they're crappier. We will move him here. All right, excellent. So the growth of the printing industry. So that countries that have fully or have not yet fully embraced the printing press institution will receive an increase in technology costs. Okay. So Roma gains 25 support for printing press. And our coast will continue to be raided. It's just such a bummer that that's being affected by this war here. We need to get these guys out so that we can attack the enemy fleet. Although I don't know that we can beat them. Let's just take a look. No, we would lose to this fleet. This is the Naples fleet, which is largely a galley fleet. We might win because of our modifiers, but if they had any help from their allies, then we'd expect to lose that. All right, so these two armies are at 22, so they're ready to go. Let's go ahead and start invading into Naples territory so we don't have to keep troops down here in the south anymore. I'm really irritated that so many of our allies didn't side with us. That's kind of a bummer that they didn't. That they decided not to help us. So where are the forts here? There's a fort there that is currently occupied by rebels, so I don't really have a lot of interest in taking it. But let's go and take these initial provinces here. And what is the war over? What do they need to take? It's just a punitive war. Okay, it's just punishing us for being bad guys. So, like, what would they really want? I'm just kind of curious. They want us to give up territory, probably. Return cores, canceling subjects, releasing nations, stuff like that. They don't want annulling of treaties. You can just concede defeat, though. And then you just lose some prestige. Okay. But we're going to try and beat them. I don't think it'll be impossible for us to get a win here. So we do need to get 2 more units for this army here. So let's go ahead and do that. I know we are having manpower issues, but that's okay. So we want to get an artillery and an infantry. That's what we'll do here. So we'll do an infantry right here, and artillery right here. And I mean, we still have 27,000 manpower, and if we stay on defense for a little while, then we can build that manpower back up. So we have the Sell the Titles event again, which will just gain the 1+ stability, I suppose. And burgers will get a little bit under, 30%, so that shouldn't affect us for too long. Let me just take a look at something. I want to see how much. Okay, so we actually have 40% of the land. So we could go ahead and do another one of those power abilities, such as the one with the nobles, to get the monthly military power. That would be a nice option, I suppose. I remember we do lose the max absolutism, and then we get that loyalty penalty. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this, guys, since we're at 40%. Let's do the primacy of the nobility here, just to get that 1+ military power. This is what we're currently on right now. I don't think we have a national focus. Yeah, we don't have one. Can't even change it till 1550, but we're pretty balanced as of right now. All right. So again, these guys are actually taking attrition here, which I wasn't expecting. Oh, that's because the Austrians are there. So just kind of waiting to see what happens. We might have to come help the Austrians. They're under severe stress, and we don't want them to get pieced out. So we are going to need to attack them. But again, we have to attack in somewhere that's smart to attack. So we probably will attack these guys here. That's what will start this war. Let's see where we want to attack from. I think Verona is a safe location where we don't have to get that river penalty. One thing somebody told me in the comments, which is something I didn't even know about, is that you can avoid the river penalty if you, and I don't know if it's a chance to do so. I think it might be like a chance to do so. But you can avoid the river penalty if your general has a higher maneuver, a higher maneuver than the enemy general. Oh, so that's interesting. I didn't know that. All right, so we're still at 56% here, so can't go out. Though again, I don't know that we would win if we did go out. So we're gonna send this army here, and then they're gonna attack right there to get this battle started. And we'll have to see if any of their... I assume some of these guys are gonna come over here, so I'm hoping we can get this battle done quickly before they get here. Doesn't look like that's the case. That's a real shame. We did get a -2 terrain penalty. I probably should have been a little more careful with that. So this is what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna send our own army in. Although I don't know if this is the best place to do the... Oh, never mind. It doesn't look like it matters because we did win it. Oh, damn it. And something happening here. So a bunch of battles and stuff going on. Let's go and take a look and see what's all happening. So we've won both of these battles here. So this is against just a few thousand men. I think that maybe... I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but we completely wiped them out without any casualties. Makes me think that they were building them, but yeah, you can't build more than one unit, so I'm not entirely sure what happened there. As far as the main battle here, you see we took significantly less casualties, despite the fact that we were fighting in the mountains and getting that terrain penalty. Now, I don't know that we can leave here in time. Oops, that's not how I wanted to do that. Because we are still going to get the terrain penalty, because remember, we are attacking them there. And it doesn't look like we'll be able to get out of there in time. So, let's just send all 40,000 men to make sure that we win this, because we would lose, I think. Simply, you know, because of the terrain penalty modifier here, and because our morale was already kind of lower. Yeah, you can see that battle's not going quite our way there. So we have this infantry finished up. We'll move them over here for right now. And Portugal wants military access. We're going to decline that. And also, we should probably go take Ancona real quick. With this other army here. Where's our fleet looking at? We're at 68% right now. Okay, so big battles against the French. And it does look like we're probably going to lose this conflict here. But we should cause them a severe number of casualties. And then we'll get to kind of move behind our forts here. Yeah, it does look like we did lose the battle, but we did kill a lot more of them than they killed of us. So that's what's important. So our armies will move. I'm not entirely sure where they're going. We'll take a look at this. And we did take this province as well. We need to finish up in the south so that we can have this army to go somewhere else. We really need to take Naples' capital and try and get them pieced out. So we don't have to worry about them anymore. We won't take any more territory because, again, that would probably just further exasperate the problems. So our armies are here. Now let's go ahead and try and figure out how many units we have in each of these. So this is the large army. So we're going to move them over to here. Well, these guys will go over to here. They are trying to chase us down. Oh, they're going after the capital. Okay, so we'll have to stop that siege. You see that the armies are just flowing on in here. We might need to actually go behind this fort here for right now. We need to rebuild. So yeah, I really want to get this conflict done with down here in the south. But yeah, very, very large coalition, guys. So a lot of armies moving in. But yeah, I feel like we can win this, honestly. So we can take either admin power or prestige. Well, we actually are full on prestige. So obviously admin power would probably be the best option. So let's go and do that. See if there's anything I need to be aware of up here. Doesn't look like it. So we're good to go. We are losing money now though, and that's because it does get more expensive to maintain your troops. And they did split their armies up over here, so that's not good for them. But again, they can all merge into one location. Let's go ahead and move these guys over to here, because we're going to attack. I suppose we're going to have to attack right there first. That's the siege that's going to end first. So want to attack there, but we do need to get our troop numbers up. All right, get our morale up, all that good stuff. We got hit pretty hard by that, guys. By that battle, unfortunately. That was, I didn't think about the fact that it was in the mountains, and I kind of thought we could defeat them really quick before their allies came, but unfortunately, with the movement speeds, they can do it pretty quickly. Now we do have Naples. Their troops are up here. We're trying to get the siege done of their capital first, that maybe we might be able to get a peace treaty. So we will not move up here just yet. We'll just wait. And there's not a lot of troops anyway. In fact, let's go and send our units over here and get that battle won real quick. You can see the Austrians are here, and we have the Bible translated. So Catholicism can lose reform desire. Great news, spread these Bibles far and wide. Oh, we don't want to do that. We're good Catholics. Let's go and do that. And it sucks we weren't able to avoid the coalition war, but it is what it is. Alright, so let's go and move these guys back here. And I do feel like our morale is high enough to go ahead and attack here and stop this siege. We'll just have to see what happens. Where do we want to attack from? So where would be a location? I don't know that we can avoid the river penalty anywhere. It doesn't seem like it. I think they are completely surrounded by rivers. I think that's that one benefit of this province here. Is that it's a good defensive province because you know that they got to attack you across a river. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anywhere to attack from. So it doesn't really matter where we attack from, honestly. We'll just attack for 2 locations. Send them in. They are now trying to get out of there. They're trying to go to this battle here, where the Austrians are in fact going to lose. Okay. Let's go ahead and engage these guys here now. I know there's better locations to attack them. Yeah, I mean, maybe we want to wait. No, we'd get the hills penalty there. So I guess there's not better locations. Let's go and attack these guys here and try and, while the rest of their forces can't really help them because they're in their own battle. All right, so Naples is occupied one of our provinces with their 1,000 men there. We're still trying to get the siege done, so we can't really deal with it yet. Is our ships ready yet? They are. Do we want to send them out? I think we'll lose if we do. I don't know, though, because a lot of these are pretty cruddy ships. We might be able to win here, but if they send their fleet all the way around, which they very well might, then we might end up losing it. Maybe we should finish building the ships that I got set up to build first. Yeah, we'll have those done in a couple days. So yeah, might as well wait. So let's get the galley that's here. Oh, that's the transport ship, excuse me. Are we still building it? Oh, it's 2 days away to get that one. All right, so the Austrians did win here. They defeated the French. Excellent news. And we should have this battle won here very easily as well, because, you know, we vastly outnumbered them, like 4 times their numbers. And so, yeah, we killed a ton of them. All right, excellent. So we are going to want to move these guys, spread them out a little bit. We'll keep 1 here for the river bonus. You know, we don't really get anything here. We could sit in the mountains right there, though, in case they want to attack over this way. I suppose that what we'll do. We're just going to stay on the defensive for a little bit. Kind of get our armies, replace their losses. Let's see who the better general is here. We'll get the better general coming over this way. It does have just enough supply limit to fit us in there, so we shouldn't be getting any penalties there. Oh, they're going to come right back over here and attack us. Okay, that seems foolish. Maybe I should let them get locked into the attack before. Yeah, let's go and make sure. Oh, nope, they're going the other way. Never mind. They thought about it for a second, then they decided against it, against attacking us. All right, so hopefully somebody else will deal with this issue here for us. We are being blockaded here now by the French, and they don't have any large ships there. This would be a massive battle, though. You do have large ships there. I don't know if we can win this, honestly, guys. But I also don't want to sit here and be blockaded this entire time either. So it's like, you know what, you just got to do it at some point. Can we get an admiral without it costing us anything? Yes, we can get 1 more leader, so let's get an admiral. Anything to try and help our chances out here. And he actually has 4 fire, which is you know, fire is worth a lot more for the Navy than land troops in the early game. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get him. Maneuvers are great as well for your ships. So yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and attack here. I don't know if they have a leader. It looks like they do not. They do have one here though. So he is, you'd get the shock bonus, but not the fire bonus. Also, he has higher maneuver. So yeah, if they move these guys over here, which they very well might, overall, they vastly outnumber us in ships. I'll probably lose this naval battle. But the way I look at it is like we can always rebuild the Navy. And there's no point of having them here if we're not going to use them. It's such a bummer Spain didn't come to this, you know, support us in this alliance. This would have been a very different conflict. Siege's Naples is done. Let's see if we can't get them to come to the peace treaty. Oh yes, that's right. Coalition members will never sign separate pieces. That's right, you have to defeat the entire coalition. I didn't forget about that. So that's something to consider. So we might as well just go and take over all their damn provinces here, which is kind of a shame we're having to fight these rebels. But it is what it is, guys. All right, so we're engaging in the naval battle. We will see if the other ships come to their assistance. as of right now, these guys are not coming to their assistance, and it does look like we are set to win this battle very easily, actually. So I'm glad I sent them out there. And the Emperor rejected the Protestants' confessional positions at the Imperial Parliament. So let me just see what is happening here. Oh, nice. We actually have the 30 Years' War situation developing over here. We're going to have the religious conflict in the HRE. Austria is the first member of the Catholic League. Okay, so let's see what happens there. We did finish up the naval battle, and we didn't capture any ships. We did sink 7 other light ships, 2 of their galleys, and 5 of their transports. Very good battle there. And because of it, our admiral gained the Buccaneer trait, which gives him privateering efficiency, which we're not going to use him for that, so probably not all that useful in that. For that, let's go ahead and get these guys repaired. And we've eliminated the siege here, or excuse me, the blockade. So now we have a much better chance of winning some of these naval battles. So we're going to repair those guys. We do need to take this province back, so we will, because they actually are... Oh, it's actually already been taken back by the fort, so we don't even need to go there. Yeah, I forgot we have a fort here to do that for us. We do have to deal with this attack here, which we would get the nice dice roll. But because there's so many enemy troops over here, we're actually going to have to send 2 armies in to deal with that. We will do that next episode, though, because in this episode, the actual gameplay part is done. So if that's all you're here for, you can go in and bounce. Because we're going to be going over that paper, the European State System, Balance of Power Politics paper that I did back when I was at university. And I did do this my senior year. And I did do this paper for the history degree. It's for a history class. However, this does have a lot of political science elements in it that you'll notice if you've studied that at all. So again, this paper was about the European state system. You're not going to be able to see it. You'll just be looking at whatever I have on the screen right now in the game. Unfortunately, I don't know how to switch it over because I have it set to record the gameplay that's up. And I don't know that I can switch it over to record the screen without ending the recording. So we'll just have it sitting here looking at Northern Italy while I read this. So we'll just start with the first paragraph, and we'll go over the first page at the very least, because that kind of outlines what the paper was about. All right, so let's go ahead and start. The European state system and its utility have been, and continue to be, a source of debate among historians and political scientists. Some claim that the system has proven to be an effective device to maintain peace. They cite the relatively peaceful 19th century, which was the height of the state system, as evidence of their theory. Others argue that the state system is merely a formula to prevent the rise of any one state to world dominance, and that it only masquerades as a method to preserve peace. The purpose of this paper is to analyze the state system and its development, with particular attention paid towards its role in European wars, in order to demonstrate that the system was not an efficient mechanism for maintaining peace. Instead, the European state system has served as a major source of conflict throughout its domination of European diplomacy. So I'll use words interchangeable throughout this with the European state system, balance of power politics, and I think the next paragraph actually discusses that a little bit. One thing I would like to mention here is that's the thesis. Those 2 sentences there. But basically, the main thesis sentence is that the European state system has served as a major source of conflict throughout its domination of European diplomacy, and the whole purpose of the papers was a rejection of the idea that it is an effective mechanism to maintain peace. So next paragraph, the European state system is an international relations concept that describes the balance of power policies, i.e. power politics, that came to govern diplomacy in Europe. In the anarchy of international relations, the balance of power theory has greatly influenced the actions of monarchs and statesmen who viewed power politics as a means to secure the continued independence and prosperity of their states. In order to maintain a balance of power, states often assisted with preserving the strength of rival powers. This can lead to the inaccurate belief that the state system created a harmonious diplomatic atmosphere that discouraged conflict and promoted cooperation. However, power politics is inherently selfish, as the ultimate goal for a state is the preservation of its own status and power. In all instances, states were acting in their own best interest. When aiding a rival, a state was merely ensuring that another competing power didn't benefit from their rival's weakness. Rulers and their statesmen were entirely willing to disrupt the balance of power in order to strengthen their own power, and they were only concerned with the disruption of the balance when it was a rival state whose power was increasing. For example, Britain was the foremost advocate of maintaining the balance of power on the European continent. However, they ardently resisted any efforts to balance to balance areas where they dominated, such as a naval, trade, or colonial power. So then I take several paragraphs, a couple pages actually, kind of separating my topic of this paper, which is about the balance of power politics and the outbreak of conflict, from another very similar concept. And this related debate was concerning the correlation between the existence of a balance of power and conflict. So I'm not really arguing about that, and you'll hear that from many scholars, such as AFK Organsky would be one, John J. Mearsheimer. He's probably one of the more popular ones. I don't know if you've taken any political science class, you've probably been required to read Mearsheimer, and they're talking about a completely different topic. That the existence of balance of power and different balance of power systems. And how they affect conflict. I'm just arguing that balance of power policies in general create conflict, because it's not just about achieving balance of power. It's about the means that they use to achieve that, which is conflict. So I kind of, separate and kind of discuss that debate just a little bit. Yeah, so I talk about this for over 3 paragraphs, kind of just ending with the debate of whether an existence of balance of power leads to peace or war is very much inconclusive. Therefore, this related topic will not be dealt with any further in this paper, and we can move along to the next discussion. Which, let me see how far I want to go down this here. Yeah, we'll kind of go down until I start talking about Italy, and then we'll talk about Italy since that relates to our series, our EU4 series, and then I'll kind of just briefly. Discuss the rest of the paper. So I know I'm going to butcher this French name. I'll try my best. Francois Fenelon, hopefully I pronounced that right, was one of the first advocates of the idea that balance of power policies produce peace, declaring that, and I won't read his whole quotation here, but this theory increased in popularity largely due to the relatively peaceful period in Europe between the years of 1815 and 1914. Karl Polanyi called the period the 100 Years' Peace, and he cited the balance of power politics as one of the 4 institutional pillars that explain this period of peace. Just in case you're curious, the other 3 institutional pillars that he mentioned were the international gold standard, the self-regulating market, and the liberal state. The theory eventually began to decline after the 2 world wars, and now very few modern historians or political scientists promote it. However, at the same time, the idea that power politics are actually a cause of conflict isn't widely accepted either. Instead, most scholars are willing to recognize that states are certainly willing to go to war as a last resort to maintain the balance, but they don't acknowledge any correlation between the balance of power politics and conflict. Balance of power policies and conflict. So just to break that part down real quick, I'm just saying, just explaining why I'm doing the paper, because it's definitely no longer a well-supported theory. The idea that for a long time was particularly in the early and mid 20th centuries, there was the theory promoted that balance of power politics does in fact result in peace, and that's not so much supported anymore. But at the same time, nobody's really arguing that balance of power politics actually causes conflict, which that's what I'm setting out to prove in the paper, is that they not only don't create peace, but they create conflict. So the prevailing theory is that the purpose of the European state system is not to preserve peace, but to preserve the system and the autonomy of the major states. War is simply a tool that is occasionally necessitated in order to fulfill this purpose. The high number of these last resort wars during the 18th century led several contemporaries to begin questioning the balance of power system. The British statesman Edmund Burke suggested that the system was producing pointless and unnecessary conflicts. These conflicts left a trail of destruction across Europe. The financial and human cost of the devastation far outweighed any benefit of the European state system. Burke stated that the system generated innumerable and fruitless wars and were a cause of infinite contention and bloodshed. After the Napoleonic Wars, the opponents of power politics were suppressed due to the presumed success of the system to maintain peace during the 19th century. The fact that this century was reasonably peaceful when compared to the preceding and subsequent centuries is indisputable. However, there is very little historical evidence to support the idea that the European state system is responsible for this period of peace. In addition, power politics were being employed both before and after the 19th century, yet these periods did not exhibit the same reduction of conflict. Therefore, other factors must have been the cause of this period of peace. Consequently, the logical next step in this analysis would be to look at the historical data. This paper will analyze the development of the European state system from its beginning through the 18th century in order to prove its role in producing conflict. The 19th century will then be examined with the purpose of identifying the actual factors that were responsible for the decrease in conflict between the great powers. Finally, the analysis will turn to the world wars to substantiate the fact that once these factors dissipated, power politics would again instigate conflict between the great powers. So that is, the first. Of course, I skipped parts, but that's the first 5 pages of the paper, and you're just now getting to the meat of it. Again, just kind of breaking down everything that is going to go over, my theories, my thesis, and just kind of the general gist of it. So it kind of shows you how long the paper is, and then we first start getting to the analysis here on page 6. And I'll go over a little bit of it, but again, it's a really long paper, so we're not going to go over all of it. So we'll start with Italy here. The balance of power system first emerged on the Italian peninsula during the 15th century. The 5 major powers in Italy at this time were Venice, Milan, Florence, the Papal States, and Naples. The Italian powers allied against any state that attempted to achieve a hegemony of the peninsula. The result of the system was frequent conflict between the years 1423 and 1454. This period of conflict is often referred to as the Wars in Lombardy, and Venice emerged from the wars as the victor. After the conclusion of these conflicts with the Treaty of Lodi, which was in 1454, there was a long period of peace that lasted until 1482. Historians have traditionally held that balance of power policies were the cause of the peace, as the Medici and Florence arranged a network of alliances to oppose Venetian aggression. However, this view completely disregards the fact that Venice was distracted with matters outside of Italy. The city of Constantinople, the last bastion of the Roman Empire, fell in 1453 to the Ottoman Turks. Venice found itself involved in a long conflict with the Turks from 1463 until 1479 in order to protect their empire in the Balkans and the Aegean Sea. War with the Turks became the primary Venetian priority, and this was the real reason for the period of peace in Italy. Not long after the conflict with the Turks was concluded, Venice allied with the Papal States in the War of Ferrara. And I never really know if that's how you pronounce that. If any people who speak Italian out there know, is that how you pronounce that province? Ferrara, Ferrara. You can actually see it on the map right now. In fact, up along the eastern coast of Italy. But yeah, I'm never entirely sure if that's how that's pronounced. So do correct me if I pronounce that wrong. Anyway, that war was between 1482 and 1484. So Milan and Naples came to the defense of Ferrara to check the Venetian papal power grab. As a result of this attempt to maintain the balance, most of the peninsula became involved in what would have been a minor conflict. And that's the key there, guys, is that these balance of power policies, what they do is they turn what would be a minor conflict between like 1, 2, maybe 3 countries into just these massive full-blown wars that, envelop, either the entire continent or later in history, the entire world. The world wars were caused, specifically the First World War, were caused by balance of power policies. So that's really the point that I'm getting here with talking about Italy. But that'll be kind of the theme of the entire paper, is how it turns minor conflicts into these massive, huge wars. So the Italian power politics continued in the following decade, leading to the Italian Wars from 1494 to 1559. The Italian states brought foreign powers into the regional conflict, resulting in the eventual decline of all the 5 powers in Italy as France, Spain, and Austria expanded their control over the peninsula. In essence, power politics led to continual conflict that devastated Italy's economy and ensured that a regional hegemon would never develop. While states in Spain, France, and England were centralizing their power, Italy remained divided and open to outside influence and conquest. The concept of balance of power politics spread to the rest of Europe, largely due to the considerable amount of literature written on the topic. The invention of the printing press ensured that the literature was able to be distributed across the continent. Balance of power policies became embodied in the struggle between Catholics and Protestants in Germany, the frequent clashes of Tudor England with Spain, and the dynastic rivalry between France and the Habsburgs. Power policies became an integral part of French foreign policy as it attempted to counter the Habsburgs. The Habsburg Emperor, you know what? I think this is probably where we'll end this area. Again, we go into quite a bit of detail. I kind of go over obviously the clashes between the Habsburgs and France and the role of power politics in that. We go over, and then of course we get into Louis XIV, spend quite a bit of time talking about Louis XIV and the Grand Alliances against him, the 9 Years' War, so on, so on. Of course, you have the War of Spanish Succession as well. So go through all that. And then from there, just kind of looking at where we're at here. Okay, so yeah, we're down here in the War of Spanish Succession. I'm just kind of scrolling through this, guys. Let's talk about the War of Spanish Succession for quite a while because it obviously played a large role in that. Yeah, this is just pages and pages worth of it. Talking about Louis XIV and conflicts he was involved in. We talk about the Polish Succession War, go into that a bit. Of course, the wars between Austria and Prussia. We're talking about Frederick the Great here, discussing that, the Austrian Succession War, all that good stuff. 7 Years' War, obviously a lot of attention had to be paid to that, talking about the 7 Years' War and its involvement in that, because of course that would be the most decisive conflict between France and Britain. And then of course then I kind of end my analysis of the 18th century discussing the partition of Poland, because that was obviously power politics. Partitions of Poland, in my opinion, are one of the best examples of the European state system, power politics in use. So I discussed that for a while. And then the French Revolution, and I don't really talk about that much. I think I mentioned why here. Yeah, so the 18th century came to a close with the French Revolution and the French Revolutionary Wars. The Revolutionary Wars were not a result of balanced power politics, but instead had ideological roots. So the great powers were appalled at the execution of the French king, as well as many other radical policies of the revolutionary government. They sought to reestablish order in France and restore the Bourbon dynasty to the throne. And then the Napoleonic Wars, on the other hand, were very much influenced by balanced power politics. Napoleon's empire completely destroyed any resemblance of an equilibrium of power. As in the case of Louis XIV, the European great powers united in a coalition in order to defeat Napoleon and restore the European state system. French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars deeply impacted the nature of European diplomacy, and there are two significant innovations in diplomacy that developed during the wars against Napoleon. I guess we'll mention those real quick. Firstly, the need to coordinate militarily against France produced greater cooperation between the great powers, resulting in the idea of permanent consultation and collaboration, and collaborative diplomatic action. Secondly, the Congress system of the 19th century had its origins in the Napoleonic Wars. The Congress system was proactive rather than reactive, which was a drastic change in diplomatic policy. Statesmen operated under the principle that they could control and shape events instead of simply reacting to them. And then here's the paragraph where I really kind of just end the discussion over the 18th century, which again was a big part of the paper here. From 1700 to 1799, there were only 37 years where there wasn't an ongoing conflict involving three or more great powers. If the criteria is reduced to only two great powers at war with each other, then that number is reduced to 22 years. Almost all the great power wars of the 18th century were motivated by balance of power politics. Furthermore, power politics increased the length of wars due to the fact that states refused to make peace while a severe imbalance still existed, requiring that all the major states obtained compensation. Finally, balance of power policies frequently transformed regional conflicts into global ones. These results are not isolated to the 18th century. From the time that it came to influence European diplomacy, power politics would serve as a source of conflict, and these wars were far longer and more expansive due to these policies. So then I start jumping into the 19th century, and we discussed that quite a bit. And because the main point here is you got to dispute the idea that the power politics created peace in the 19th century. So I kind of just really go into that, talk about all the reasons why there wasn't more conflict between the great powers, and how that wasn't due to the European state system. So just kind of scrolling through this again, seeing if there's anything else we might want to mention here. Obviously, I talk about the revolutions of 1830, talk about that bit. And then the Anglo-French Entente of the 18th century revealed that two of the most powerful members of the state system working together, they can completely dominate the other states and impose their will on the continent. And a similar arrangement existed in the first half of the 19th century because the two most formidable states, Britain and France, jointly controlled the European state system. So that was referencing something that I discussed in an earlier part of the paper. We talked about the Anglo-French Entente. I never mentioned that here, but yeah, I talked about that earlier in the paper. And so that's one of the great flaws of the European state system, is that if two really powerful countries work together and they're like allies and strong allies, then they can just completely dominate the balance power system, and there's no balance power at all. And so the Anglo-French Entente was one example, and then Britain and Russia, controlling the European state system after the Napoleonic Wars were the other example, because, the weaker Eastern powers, Austria, Prussia, they pretty much followed Russia's lead, while Britain largely ignored the continent and concentrated on building up their overseas empire at this time, which basically resulted in France being diplomatically isolated, as all four of the other major rivals of theirs pretty much stood against them throughout the century. So much like the Entente, the Anglo-Russian arrangement was a source of peace and stability. So the moment that the Anglo-Russian relationship ended, some of those domestic concerns that I talk about earlier here on this section, all the domestic issues, worried about revolt and rebellion and revolution, as soon as those all ended and the Anglo-Russian relationship ended, then conflict between the great powers then broke out again. So I then go into the revolutions of 1848, discuss that, and then the conflicts, the unification wars that happened in the second half of the 19th century. I really go into Bismarck, including quoting many quotes from Bismarck. I talk about Bismarck quite a bit, actually, since it obviously played a massive role in unification of Germany. So talk about him a lot, including Emperor Wilhelm. And then we start getting into World War I and really discussing, how World War I played a role in, how power politics played such a massive role in the breakout of World War I, which I think from some of the stuff I've already talked about in here, you can kind of get the gist of how that would play a role. So just kind of scrolling through this and seeing if there's anything else left that we might want to discuss here. I guess we can kind of just briefly talk about how World War I and the results of World War I caused World War II, since we now recognize today that they were almost the same war in a way, that World War II was a continuation of World War I, since World War I was not ended properly. The Treaty of Versailles was an absolute disaster. It was terribly done, and the reason why the Treaty of Versailles was so bad was actually balance power politics. The European state system failed, absolutely failed, and I'm trying to find the part where I kind of go over this. I don't know if this is it, but I guess we'll read this part. The European state system that had dominated diplomacy on the continent for the last 200 years was effectively destroyed. However, this didn't end the great powers' adherence to power politics and their attempts to preserve the state system. The victors of World War I were divided over how to handle Germany. France wanted to weaken Germany in order to restore the balance of pre-unification Europe. And this was the last thing that the British wanted, as without Germany as a balancer, France could potentially become the dominant power on the continent again. The French military occupation of the German Rhineland only further enhanced this fear. Britain sought to keep Germany weak enough to be controlled, but strong enough to be a counter to French power. The outcome of these conflicting policies was that the terms imposed on Germany were severe enough to generate intense resentment, but not so severe that it would keep Germany from returning to great power status. So Britain's interpretations of French motives were inaccurate. The war had absolutely devastated France, and they were now in position of losing their great power status. Their motivation to weaken Germany wasn't imperialistic. Instead, they were afraid of a German recovery. However, Britain had other reasons for desiring a quick German resurgence. The British sought to use Germany to counter the new communist regime in Russia, which they regarded as the single greatest threat to the balance of power. And this was another matter where France and Britain were opposed. France agreed that the equilibrium in Eastern Europe was disrupted, but their proposal was to create a strong Poland that could serve as a buffer against Russia while also being able to act as a balancer of German power. British resisted this proposal for many reasons, but one of the key ones was that the new Polish lands would be taken from Germany. This would both weaken them and cause further German resentment. Ultimately, the French proposal won out due to American support. In essence, balance of power policies caused disunity among the Allies, which led to opposing strategies. The Allies alienated Germany and Russia, as well as Italy, which wasn't discussed here. This had significant repercussions. Germany was resentful over the Allied treatment of them, and they were left strong enough that they would be able to recover and attempt to rectify these perceived insults. Italy allied with Germany for similar reasons. The conduct of Allies towards the conduct of the Allies towards Russia eventually led to a non-aggression pact between the Russians and Germany. Finally, France and Britain's commitment to power politics ensured that none of the major causes of the First World War were dealt with. Hence, balance of power politics played a pivotal role in the outbreak of the Second World War. So yeah, kind of go over a little bit more here. And I guess we'll just read the we'll delay the last two paragraphs here of the paper. The European state system and its power politics has served as a major source of conflict throughout its dominance of European diplomacy. From its early inception in Italy through the 18th century, balance of power policies, have promoted the ideal of using war in order to preserve an equilibrium. However, this has often been used as a pretense for states to increase their own powers at the expense of smaller countries. The European state system of the 19th century was relatively free of conflict, but this was largely due to internal issues within the major states. The great powers feared that wars would cause a breakdown of the social order and instability. Once these factors were removed, war between the great powers resumed until Bismarck dominated the system and enforced peace. After Bismarck's death, power politics played a significant role in instigating two world wars that devastated the globe. The European state system has proven to be effective at creating an element of stability in international relations. However, it has not been a viable device to maintain peace. As America disengages from the dominant role that it has filled since World War II, it is important that power systems are studied and understood. Without a superpower, it is likely that the world will revert to a multipolar great power system. If the new great powers follow the same policies as the old, then they'll be sure to secure the same results. A multitude of unnecessary and senseless conflicts. As I ended. That's kind of just that previous paragraph was, just basically a quick overview of everything I covered here. I think the only thing we didn't read a paragraph from was, talking about Bismarck and, when he dominated the system, he was the reason for the period of peace after the Unification Wars. It's just because he enforced peace. Germany and their power enforced it. And Bismarck, he just dominated the other European leaders. So that's one reason why I talk about Bismarck so much. But yeah, that's essentially the paper. And close eye. Whoa, we're moving here now. But yeah, it was I don't want to say it's a fun paper to write because I don't really like writing research papers personally. I had fun researching for it, but writing it was of course challenging as you'd expect. But yeah, it was. I got a very good score on it. I got almost perfect score on that paper. Although I should say that I don't think I've ever written a paper that didn't get at least a B. Almost all my papers are A's. You just got to know how to write for your instructor, and the Austrians are doing terrible over here, just absolutely terrible. We gotta go help them. But anyways, you just need to learn how to write for your for whatever whichever the current professor is, and what they want from you, and you'll typically be able to get a good grade. I should take back, I did get 1 C as a freshman because I didn't know that yet. So I wrote a paper about, we were required to write a paper about gender. That's all we said. It was a very loose paper. Again, it's a freshman class. And this was before I went to the 4-year college. So it was a community college. I started at a community college. I did my first 2 semesters there just because it was cheaper. And then plus I hadn't taken the SATs since I'd been out of college. I'd been out of high school for years. It'd been like 8 years since I've been in high school. So I didn't have any SATs to give. And so the 4-year colleges wouldn't even accept me unless I did 1 semester at a community college. So that was the other reason why I did it, because it being cheaper didn't really have much of an effect because I didn't pay for my college. The Army did. My GI Bill paid for the college. I suppose the price did have an effect because the books were cheaper. The books were cheaper and just other factors as well. But of course I had to go, so I had to do 1 semester there. So I did 2 semesters at the community college. And I had one professor there. He had us do a paper about gender. He just said, again, very, very loose topic. He just said, write anything about gender. I don't even care. It was like it wasn't a long paper, maybe 3 to 5 pages, something like that. And I decided to write about some of the inequities in the court system regarding men, both in civil and criminal court, and how it's systematic sexism. It's institutional sexism against men, the way we are treated in the court system. Whether it's criminal, because we get, like, for the same crime, a man will get substantially more time than a woman will get for the same exact crime, even with the same exact, criminal background. they'll get more time. In the civil courts, obviously when we look at, just for one example, you look at like a divorce court, women typically get, almost in all cases, women get the custody of the kids, or the better custody of the kids, even if they're getting like partial custody, shared custody. So I just kind of went over that for 3 to 5 pages and how men are treated in the court system. And what I didn't know is that, he didn't want to hear about that. He wanted to hear about something that had to do with women, but he didn't say that. He just said it's got to be about gender. So, I didn't know, and I know that now. Back then, I didn't know that all professors were on the left. My entire time in the college, I had one professor who was a conservative. Now, I'm not a conservative myself. I should mention that I consider myself a centrist, but I only had one professor that was not very left, like very, very left. So I didn't know at that time that they were all left. I didn't have any experience at the university. I didn't know that. And it wasn't something, nowadays, I think everybody knows that. But back then, I don't think it was so prominent. I don't think so many people knew that. We're talking about, I started college in 2011. So I'd say not everybody knew that back then. Like today, I think most people know that universities are dominated by the left. But yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know also that in general, people on the left, and if this isn't you, then I'm not talking about you. If the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, then don't wear it. People in general on the left are not very accepting of other viewpoints. That's just kind of the way it is and the way it always has been. And I had to learn very quickly that when I took classes, I needed to, you don't got to lie. You ain't got to say something that you don't believe is true, but you do need to write for your audience. And so I did write that paper, and I got a C on it. And again, he couldn't tell me anything that was wrong with it. And he didn't mark anything as wrong. He just said it wasn't what I should have done, even though it was on gender. And so really, I literally, lost points and got a C just because it was about men and not about women. And so I learned. And I never made that mistake again. And so I never got a C again. I always got A's or B's. Because again, you got to write for your audience. And so if you're in college right now, just keep that in mind. Write for your audience. And not just a political, there's other things you need to consider too. If you have a professor who is really, really stickler for grammar, then you're going to want to make sure you pay more attention to that than you might with another professor. Anyway, I did talk about this too long. This video is a very long video, so let's go ahead and end it here, guys. I hope you did enjoy that little brief reading of that paper. Again, we probably only read maybe a total of 3 or 4 pages of the whole paper. That's all we read. So just kind of give you, an idea of what the paper was about, what I was talking about overall. Just kind of tried to cover those paragraphs that talked about more the general of what the paper was about than about the specifics. But yeah, I hope that was helpful for those of you who are interested. I don't know if we'll do something about the whole paper, and then I would have to, of course, record gameplay for that, because I'm sure you guys don't want to just look at one part of the map for the whole time. So I don't know if we'll do anything with that. I also got a lot of other papers I wrote in college. I wrote a lot for history and political science degrees. Really any BA degree, Bachelor of the Arts, you're going to find yourself writing a lot. A lot of BS people, and I mean Bachelors of the Sciences, they don't understand that. Their tests are largely multiple choice tests. I did have to take several science classes, and that's with the exception of math. Obviously, math is not typically multiple choice. But yeah, most of their tests. And again, I didn't take the advanced courses because I didn't get that degree, but I can tell you, in all of the lower level classes, they're multiple choice tests. That doesn't mean they're easy. Their multiple choice tests can be incredibly challenging, but they're multiple choice tests. The answer is on the page. So if you do your studying, you can do well on them. But a lot of those people who come over from the science departments and the hard sciences and then come to do the basic BA stuff they have to do for their degrees, whether it's U.S. History 1 and 2 or whatever, they're often shocked with how much writing there is in the arts. It's a lot of writing. I don't think I ever took, for any of my history or political science classes, a test that had a lot of multiple choice, if any. Most of the tests didn't have any multiple choice. They're you typically have a short answer section where you'd have to write 5 short answers. They ask you a question and you explain it in a paragraph or 2, and then one essay at the end, which didn't really have a requirement. You just need to answer the question, which would typically take several pages worth, and it was very difficult because you had so little time. So you got to write an essay by hand, which I write really slow. Been a terrible writer. I got chicken scratch, terrible handwriting. I write really, really slow. So that was always kind of the hardest time, is time, trying to get it done in time. But yeah, a lot of people who come from the sciences are shocked at how much writing you have to do in the arts. So I did a lot of writing in college, quite a bit. So yeah, I got a lot of papers. That's just one of them. And this, I wouldn't even say that's my favorite one, actually. There's several other ones I enjoyed doing a little bit more. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode, the end of that discussion. Hope you guys did enjoy the video, enjoyed that little look at the paper. If you did, make sure you leave a like on this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. I do hope to see you guys on the next episode, and thanks for watching.